What if I told you that the reason you're not getting things done has absolutely nothing to do with time? What if everything you've ever been taught about productivity was wrong? Not a little wrong, completely, fundamentally wrong. And what if the real answer was hiding inside something you carry with you every single day, but almost never think about? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're never going to look at your day the same way again. Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found this. And if you've been here before, you already know we don't do quick summaries here. We go deep, we sit with ideas, we let them breathe. Because some books, they deserve more than just a 5-minute recap. Today's book is one of those. It's called Mind Management, Not Time Management by David Kadavy. And honestly, the first time I came across this book, I almost scrolled past it. The title sounded like every other productivity book I'd read before. Manage your time better. Wake up at 5 a.m. Use a planner. Eat the frog. You know the type. But something made me stop. And when I actually started reading it, something shifted in me. Like someone had finally put into words a feeling I'd had my whole life, but could never explain. So before we dive in, if this kind of deep, honest storytelling is something you value, go ahead and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. It genuinely helps more people find content like this. Okay, let's go. Part 1. The lie we've all been sold. Close your eyes for a second. No, wait, keep them open. You're watching. But just imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning. Your alarm goes off. It's a new day. Fresh start. You open your to-do list. There are things on there you've been putting off for weeks, maybe months. You tell yourself, today is the day. Today, I get it all done. You start with coffee, check your phone, answer a few messages, maybe scroll for just 5 minutes. And then, before you even know what happened, it's 3 in the afternoon. And that important thing you were going to do, the creative project, the business idea, the thing that actually matters to you, it's still sitting there, untouched. You feel guilty. You feel frustrated. You tell yourself you just need to manage your time better. And here is where David Kadavy stops you and says, no, that's not the problem. Because here's the truth that nobody in the productivity world wants to talk about. You already have enough time. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. The same hours as the people you admire. The same hours as the people building things, creating things, changing things. So if time isn't the problem, what is? This is the open loop Kadavy plants right at the beginning of this book, and it's brilliant. Because the moment you accept that premise, that time isn't actually the issue, everything you thought you knew about productivity starts to fall apart. And something new begins to take its place. Part 2. Your brain is not a machine. Here's an analogy that hit me like a truck the first time I read it. Imagine you're a smartphone. Now imagine someone gives you a list of 50 tasks to complete, all at the same time. Browse the internet, run a video, play music, download 10 apps, run GPS navigation. Oh, and keep the screen on full brightness. What happens? The phone slows down, the battery drains, things start crashing. That phone isn't broken. It's not lazy. It's not bad at time management. It's just overwhelmed. Now here's the thing about you. You are not a machine. But somewhere along the way, the modern world started treating you like one. The Industrial Revolution gave us the time clock, the 9 to 5, the idea that if you put in the hours, you'd get the output. And that works for a factory worker, for someone tightening bolts on an assembly line. Every bolt tightened is the same as every other bolt. But what about you? What about the work that requires creativity, deep thinking, problem solving, writing, designing, building something from nothing? Can you manufacture that on a schedule? Can you just decide to be creative from 9 to 10 every Tuesday morning? You already know the answer. And this is where Kadavy introduces one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. The idea of mental energy, not time, energy. and more specifically, the idea that different types of thinking require different types of mental energy, and that those types of energy are not available equally at all times of the day. Let that sit for a moment, because this changes everything. Part 3. The 4 states of mind. Okay, this is the part where the book really begins to open up. Kadavy talks about the idea that at any given moment, your mind is in one of several different states, and the work you do should match the state your mind is in. Let me explain this with a story. Think about the last time you had a truly great idea. Where were you? I'd be willing to bet you weren't at your desk. You weren't in a meeting. You weren't staring at a blank screen trying to force something out. You were probably in the shower, or driving, or just waking up in the morning, that foggy, half-asleep state where your brain feels loose and warm and somehow free. That's not a coincidence. That is your brain in a specific state. A state Kadavy calls the prioritized state, or what neuroscientists refer to as the default mode network. Your brain's wandering mode, its dreaming mode. And here's the wild thing. That mode, the one society tells you to snap out of, is actually one of the most valuable mental states you have. Because in that state, your brain is making connections. It's synthesizing ideas. It's doing the invisible work that conscious effort can't do. But here's the problem. Most of us kill that state the second we wake up. Phone, notifications, emails, news, Instagram. Boom, the wandering brain is gone. Replaced by reactive, scattered, anxious thinking. And then we wonder why we can't think creatively. But wait, this is just the beginning. Because Kadavy goes deeper than just morning routines. He breaks down the different mental states in a way that's so practical, so real, that once you understand them, you can't unsee them. There's the state for creative work, deep, focused, generative thinking. There's the state for administrative work, answering emails, organizing, light, routine tasks. There's the state for learning, taking in new information, connecting it to things you already know. And there's the state for recharging, the state where you're not doing anything productive at all. And that's exactly the point. Now here's the key insight. Most people mix all of these up. They try to do deep creative work while they're in an administrative mindset. They try to learn new things when their brain is exhausted. They feel guilty about resting even when rest is exactly what the work requires. The result? Everything suffers. Nothing gets done at full power. And you end the day feeling both exhausted and unproductive. Sound familiar? Part 4. The Chronotype conversation. Right now, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I know what state I'm in? And when? Great question. And this is where Kadavy introduces something beautiful, your chronotype. Your chronotype is basically your natural biological rhythm. It's the internal clock inside you that determines when you're naturally alert, when you're naturally creative, when you naturally crash. Some people are morning people. Their cognitive peak, that sharp, clear, focused energy, comes early in the day. Other people are night owls. Their best thinking happens when the world has gone quiet and there are no more demands on them. Most people fall somewhere in the middle. And here's the thing, neither is better, neither is worse. But society, school, work, social expectations has built an entire system around the assumption that everyone is a morning person. And if you're not, you've probably spent your whole life feeling like something is wrong with you, feeling lazy, undisciplined, like you just don't have what it takes. But Kadavy says, no, you're not broken. You've just been trying to run your best software at the wrong time of day. Imagine a musician, brilliant, talented, but every concert is scheduled for 8 in the morning. Not because 8 a.m. is when music works, but because 8 a.m. is when the venue manager prefers it. That musician is going to underperform every single time. Not because of lack of talent, but because of timing. And you are that musician. Your creative work, your best thinking, your most valuable output, it deserves to be scheduled at the time when your mind is actually ready for it. This is what mind management looks like. Not squeezing more into your day, but aligning your tasks to your natural energy. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually gave yourself permission to work the way your brain naturally works? Part 5. The permission paradox. Here's something Kadavy talks about that I think is one of the most underrated ideas in this entire book. He calls it, or at least what I'm calling it, the permission problem. Most of us don't fail because we lack strategy. We fail because we don't give ourselves permission. Permission to rest. Permission to think slowly. Permission to do one thing deeply instead of 10 things quickly. Permission to say no to the urgent so we can say yes to the important. We live in a culture that worships busyness, and busyness is seductive because it feels like progress. If your calendar is full, if your notifications are constant, if you're always in a meeting or replying to something or jumping between tasks, that feels productive. But Kadavy makes a distinction that should be printed on every office wall in the world. Activity is not the same as progress. You can be incredibly busy doing things that don't matter, and you can be sitting quietly, doing almost nothing by the world's standards, while your most important work quietly germinates in the background of your mind. A farmer doesn't stand in a field demanding that seeds grow faster. He plants them, he waters them, he creates the right conditions, and then he waits. Your best creative work is the same. You can't force it. You can only create the conditions for it. And that requires something that feels almost countercultural in today's world. It requires stillness. Part 6. The creative curve and the valley. Now here's where Kadavy gets into something that explains so much suffering for creative people. And by creative people, I don't just mean artists. I mean anyone who has to think to do their job. Writers, entrepreneurs, programmers, parents, teachers. Anyone who has to solve problems, make decisions, build things. He talks about the natural rhythm of creative energy. And here's how I describe it. Imagine a wave. When the wave is rising, you're energized. Ideas are flowing. Work feels effortless. You're in what feels like a magical zone where everything just clicks. This is the creative peak. And then, the wave starts to fall. You hit a wall. Ideas dry up. The work that felt exciting 20 minutes ago now feels like pulling teeth. Most people, when they hit that wall, think something is wrong with them. They double down, push harder, drink another coffee, stare at the screen longer. And what happens? Nothing. Or worse, they produce their worst work while feeling their worst. But Kadavy says, the falling of the wave is not a problem. It's information. It's your mind saying, I need to shift gears. When your creative energy is high, you create, you generate, you make things. When it drops, you switch, you edit, you organize. You do the administrative work that doesn't require that deep, generative energy. And when even that runs out, you rest, fully, unapologetically. Not because you're being lazy, because you're charging, like plugging your phone in at night so it's full in the morning. And here's the part nobody talks about. The rest isn't separate from the work. The rest is part of the work. The ideas that appear in the shower, that's the result of rest. The creative breakthrough that happens on a walk, that's the result of rest. The solution that comes to you at midnight when you weren't even trying, that's your rested brain making connections it was too busy to make before. Rest isn't laziness. Rest is the invisible half of every great thing ever made. Part 7. The 4-hour creative window. Okay, let me give you something really practical right now. Because one of the things I love about Kadavy's book is that it's not just philosophy. He gives you structure. He talks about research that suggests most people, even the most elite creative minds in history, can only do about 4 hours of truly deep, generative, creative work per day. 4 hours. Not 8, not 12, not the 16-hour grind sessions we glorify on social media. 4. Charles Darwin worked 2 90-minute deep work sessions and then stopped. Maya Angelou wrote her best work in short, intensely focused bursts. Even Beethoven rarely composed for more than 4 hours a day. So here's the question. If the ceiling for genuinely great creative work is 4 hours per day, why are we pretending that working more hours means doing better work? And more importantly, are you protecting those 4 hours? Or are you spending them in meetings? Are you spending them answering emails? Are you spending them doing things that feel productive, but don't actually move the needle on the work that matters most to you? This is what Kadavy means by mind management. It's not about doing more. It's about protecting your peak for what matters most. Starting tomorrow, just try this one small thing. Identify your natural energy peak. Maybe it's the first 2 hours of your morning. Maybe it's 10 at night. Whenever it is, protect that window like it's sacred. No meetings, no email, no social media. Just you and your most important work. That's it. That one change alone can transform your output more than any planner, any app, any time-blocking system ever could. Part 8. The Procrastination Truth. Let's talk about something that I know lives rent-free in a lot of our heads. Procrastination. You know the feeling. You know you should be working on that thing. You know it matters. And yet, you find yourself doing literally anything else. Organizing your desk, watching one more video, checking your phone for the 50th time. And then comes the guilt and shame and the inner voice that says, "What is wrong with you?" Kadavy looks at this problem and says something that genuinely made me feel seen. Procrastination is rarely about laziness. Procrastination is almost always about misalignment. When you're trying to do the wrong kind of work at the wrong time with the wrong kind of mental energy, your brain resists. It's not sabotaging you, it's protecting you. It's saying, this isn't the right time for this. You don't have the energy for this. Something is off. And instead of listening to that signal, we shame ourselves. We try to force through. We reach for caffeine or willpower or discipline. And those things might work for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But eventually, the misalignment wins. Because you can't sustainably fight your own brain. The solution isn't more willpower. The solution is better alignment. Match the work to the energy. Match the task to the state. And watch how much of your so-called procrastination simply disappears. It was never a character flaw. It was a scheduling problem. 5 years from now, if nothing changes, if you keep blaming yourself for not being disciplined enough, you'll be in the exact same place, carrying the same guilt, feeling the same frustration. But if you make this one shift in how you see yourself and your energy, everything changes. Part 9. Designing your environment. Now here's a part of the book that I think gets overlooked, but it's crucial. Kadavy talks about the power of environment design. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Your willpower is weak. Mine is too. Everyone's is. Willpower is a depleting resource. Every decision you make, every time you resist a distraction, every time you force yourself to focus, that costs something. And you only start with so much each day. This is why making 1,000 tiny decisions, should I check my phone? Should I get a snack? Should I do this now or later? Is absolutely exhausting. And why, by the afternoon, most people have basically no mental resources left for anything meaningful. So instead of trying to be stronger, design your world to require less strength. Remove the distractions before you need willpower to resist them. Put your phone in another room. Turn off notifications. Close the 30 browser tabs. Make the productive choice the easy choice. Build rituals that signal to your brain, we're going into deep work now. Maybe it's a specific playlist. Maybe it's brewing tea in a certain way. Maybe it's sitting in a specific chair. The ritual is a trigger, a signal to your brain that the mode has shifted. Kadavy talks about how even small environmental cues can dramatically change your ability to access the right mental state, because your brain is constantly reading your environment. If your environment says distraction, your brain goes into distraction mode. If your environment says focus, your brain responds accordingly. You are not just a mind floating in a vacuum. You are a mind embedded in a world. And the world you build around yourself either supports your best work or slowly dismantles it. Which one are you building? Part 10. The magic of creative momentum. There's one more idea I want to share with you before we bring this home. And this might be the most quietly powerful concept in the whole book. Kadavy talks about something called creative momentum. Here's how to understand it. You know how a car engine takes more fuel to start than it does to keep running? Starting is hard. Continuing is easier. Creative work is the same. The hardest part isn't the work itself, it's starting. That blank page, that empty canvas, that first line of code, that first word. And most people, when they sit down to work, try to start big. They open the laptop and think, I need to write the whole chapter today. I need to solve the whole problem. I need to do everything. And that enormity paralyzes them. So Kadavy says, don't start big, start tiny. Open the document, write one sentence, just one. Start the sketch, draw one line, open the spreadsheet, fill in one cell. Because here's what happens. Once you've started, once you've broken through that initial resistance, momentum takes over. The engine is running now, and it becomes easier to keep going than to stop. This is the secret behind what Kadavy calls making creativity a habit. It's not about motivation. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. It's about showing up small, every day, not waiting for inspiration, not waiting to feel ready, not waiting for the perfect moment, just showing up, just starting small, just creating the tiniest possible crack in the resistance, and letting momentum do the rest. Before I bring this to a close, I want to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this. What is the one creative project, the one idea, the one thing that you keep telling yourself you'll start when you have more time? You know what it is. It's probably already in your mind right now. What would it look like if you started it tomorrow? Not finishing it, not perfecting it, just starting it. Drop it in the comments. Seriously, just say it out loud, even if no one responds. Because something happens when you name the thing you want to do. It stops being a fantasy and starts becoming a commitment. Let me take you back to where we started. Remember that morning I described at the beginning? The alarm, the coffee, the to-do list, the afternoon coming and going, the important things still untouched. For so many of us, that's not just a single morning. That's a pattern, a decade, maybe a lifetime. And we blame ourselves. We call ourselves undisciplined, unmotivated, not cut out for the things we dream about. But what if none of that was true? What if you were never broken? What if you were just misaligned? What if the creative, thoughtful, brilliant version of you, the version that has ideas in the shower, the version that solves problems in dreams, the version that feels alive when working on things that truly matter? What if that version was always there, waiting? Not waiting for more time, waiting for the right conditions. David Kadavy didn't write a book about working harder. He wrote a book about working wiser, about understanding yourself, your energy, your rhythms, your states of mind, the way a musician understands their instrument. Because you can't play beautiful music on an instrument you don't understand. And you can't do your best work with a mind you've never truly listened to. The message of this book is simple. You are not a machine. Stop managing yourself like one. Your time is fixed. You get the same 24 hours as everyone else. But your mind? your mind is not fixed. It's dynamic. It's cyclical. It has peaks and valleys, rhythms and patterns, states and seasons. And when you stop fighting those patterns, when you stop shaming yourself for being human, and start working with your nature instead of against it, something remarkable happens. The work flows, the ideas come, the projects get done. Not because you found more time, but because you finally found the you that was always capable of doing them. At the end of the day, your life doesn't change in one big dramatic moment. It changes in 1,000 small decisions. The decision to protect your creative hours, the decision to rest without guilt, the decision to start tiny instead of waiting for perfect, the decision to align your work with your energy instead of fighting yourself every step of the way. Those small decisions, repeated every day, quietly become the architecture of a life well lived. And it starts, not tomorrow, not when you have more time, not when you feel ready. It starts right now, in the next choice you make, in the way you spend the next hour, in the tiny, almost invisible decision to finally start treating your mind like the most valuable resource you have. Because it is. It always was. Thank you for being here today. If this resonated with you, if even one idea landed differently, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because we do this every week. Deep, honest, slow storytelling for people who are still figuring things out, just like the rest of us. Take care of your mind. I'll see you next time.